All right, Ben. Well, what's going on? You went to Peru?
Oh, yeah, that was a couple of years back. Started off the trip in Peru for a month, was with a buddy for 10 days, and then kind of just trekked solo for the next 3 weeks. And definitely, if everyone asks where to go, that's always where I recommend.
Peru, and where is that?
South America. Yeah, what's cool about it is it's got a little bit of everything. You've got the Amazon rainforest, you've got a huge strip of coastline with some amazing surf, and you've also got Machu Picchu, so you have the history side, and then it's just a whole nother culture. So it's just a little bit of everything, and the food is also great, which is, an added bonus.
What kind of food is it?
Their real big thing that they do there is ceviche. They have a loma saltado, which is like a stew kind of beef and rice dish. And then the weird thing they have is they also eat guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs?
Guinea pigs, yeah. You literally go to a market and you'll just see live guinea pigs for sale. It's kind of like a delicacy out there.
Really? Have you tried one?
I did try it, yeah.
What is it?
Tastes like chicken.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty normal
Yeah,
then.
everything tastes like chicken. You know how it works.
So I guess what started that whole idea of even going to Peru?
Peru, in particular.
Because that was the first step of the trip, right?
Yeah, that was kind of what started it all. I guess I knew I wanted to do a big travel trip. I wanted to go to some new places, and South America was a whole entire continent that I'd never been to. Machu Picchu always blew my mind because, how did they manage to get rocks bigger than the size of cars up onto the top of a mountain? So yeah, I just kind of saw one of my friends I vaguely knew went there, and I just hit her up and was like, "Hey, I saw you were in Machu Picchu," and she was like, "Yeah, I love Peru." Sent me like a 4-week itinerary, and I basically just followed it. It sounded like a thing I wanted to do. She sent me everything from where to stay, how to get around Peru on the buses, like what I should do while I'm down there, prices. It was the most intense itinerary ever, and it was pretty much just followed the whole thing.
That's awesome. That's, I think, I don't know, you tell me, is that a place where someone would want to go who wants to, I guess, go on an adventure, I guess, rather than like a trip to Hawaii or something?
Yeah, I feel like there's the hippie soul searching side of Peru. It's a great place to travel alone. Pretty much everyone I met when I was there was also traveling alone. So, they say when you travel alone, you're never alone, and I couldn't agree with that more. You're just hanging out with random strangers every single night, but you end up linking up with them and traveling with them. I've actually had 4 different people come stay with me at my house here in San Diego, and
That you met on that trip?
yeah, that I met on that trip. And I've gone and visited them in their country, and that was that's kind of one of the secret parts of traveling that a lot of people don't really talk about, especially if you go alone. It's the friends you make, the friendships you make along the way are that's the best part about it. Almost, it was the most unexpected part for me too.
That's crazy. I guess that you have to kind of be that open-mindedness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you find those same like-minded people.
Well, if you're going there alone, you better talk to people because you're going to be pretty lonely.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and just, twiddle my thumbs in my hostel. I'm sharing a room with 15 other people, so I might as well make some friends.
Well, I guess hostels get a bad rap.
Why?
I guess they do.
They do.
That's what I've heard.
And some of them deserve it, to be honest. They can be pretty disgusting at times, especially in nicer countries.
Disgusting how so? That do you get clean sheets and food?
Yeah, you get clean sheets, you get food, but it's I don't know. I've stayed in some where the plumbing doesn't work. That's always a fun issue. But I've also stayed in some that are nicer than hotels I've stayed at, and it normally tends to be the grosser the hostel is actually in the nicer of the nicer countries like Europe and around in the United States.
Maybe because it's less common there.
Yeah, it's just the cost, the cost to pay someone to do something in America is more expensive. So, you can get much cheaper labor down in Peru, and they could build you like a nice hostel, and they could clean the whole place for, 1/3 of the cost.
Yeah.
Probably 1/10 of the cost here. So
Well, I think that's kind of the purpose of going down there and soul searching, going on an adventure like that, is to stay at somewhere like a hostel or, kind of get out of your element more rather than going and staying at a hotel and just hanging out at the hotel.
Yeah, when you go at a hotel, or every hotel I've ever stayed at, like I've never made friends. I don't go there to meet people. I go there to relax by the pool.
Yeah.
Have my little pina colada and, just chill with the people that I go with. But that's what's so cool about when you travel by yourself. You don't have anyone to sit by the pool next to you unless you make that friend, and then everyone's in your room. You're sharing a bedroom with 15, 30 people. So it just makes it a lot easier to make friends. And
well, that's also an active trip, right? Peru, rather than, a spot like Hawaii. You're going to Peru and you're going there to do activities, right?
Yeah,
Do they have areas that are, I guess, more hangout-ish for families, or?
Everyone could do like you can go to Hawaii and you can go surf Pipeline, and you can go hike a mountaintop, or you could stay at a resort and sit on the beach. You can do what you want to do where you want to do it. But
yeah.
Peru is definitely like that. There's a lot of action adventure. Like I went zip lining, we went whitewater rafting, we hiked 4 days straight to make it to Machu Picchu.
What is Machu Picchu?
So Machu Picchu it's like an old temple, basically, that I want to say the Incans. Oh God, I'm not.
Is it a pyramid?
No, it's not a pyramid. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's on the top of a mountain, and it's just like this. It's like a community that they built, like up on top of this mountain, and it's just. It kind of has like that crazy thing in the pyramids where like they made these rocks bigger, like as wide as this room, are just perfectly cut and just stacked on top of each other. Yeah, it's like, how in the hell did they get up there? Like it's just like the technology.
And then you can go inside.
Yeah, you can go inside. You can walk around it. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. It's incredible how they were able to build that, and it's still standing. And they don't know how much longer they're going to let people walk around it anymore.
Really?
Because they're worried about, we're kind of destroying it, because people are you can walk through it and around it. And it's like these beautiful ruins of what looks like was an actually amazing community, and just above the treetops. So it's a sight to see for sure.
So it's like a town?
Yeah, it was like a little town back in the day. That they decided, I don't know why they decided, hey, we're going to live all the way up there. We're going to have to lug all the rocks up there. But that's kind of where they set up shop. And
well, it might have been safer from animals and predators.
Oh, and and other tribes and people. Because it's literally you just look down as far as you can see at everyone.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking cool.
Did you know if they had tribes and stuff at that time?
Well, I don't know, what I'm blanking right now.
Did you guys get a whole history lesson on it, or did you just go tour it on your own?
No, we did get a whole history. We had we did this 4-day tour. It was actually the Incans that I was blanking earlier. Huh. I was thinking it was the Mayans. It was the Incan civilization that lived there. But yeah, we followed the Inca trail. They had all these trails in the mountaintops to escape the conquistadors when they came, and to get from one community to another. So we did this 4-day hike through the jungle, and we had a tour guide with us the whole time. It was me and Navid and one other person, and it was a 4-day hike, $330 for 4 days. You go whitewater rafting, mountain biking, zip lining, and you have that's all your food and accommodation for 4 days. It's just it's 2 weeks worth of activities in 4 days. So I think it was one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Dang.
It was.
I'm gonna have to go check it out.
Yeah, it's the spot to go. You can ball out on a budget.
So you were inspired by your friend that went? you saw that your friend went?
Yeah, I saw like not even that close of a friend. Like I knew I always had an interest in Machu Picchu when they were teaching about it in school, because it's like, you know, the pyramids, like kind of almost just doesn't make sense. And then more I looked into it, it just kind of had everything I wanted. You know, you could get that cultural experience. Definitely wanted to go to a country that was a little bit cheaper, so I didn't have to break the bank too much. And then it has amazing surf too, so you kind of could do a little bit of everything.
Did you guys surf there too?
Oh yeah, stayed at another hostel right on the beach. Surf right out front, swim up, pool bar, $10 a night, happy hour every other hour. I'll never forget that place.
That's crazy.
Made a lot of really good friends there.
Why would you want to leave?
Ah, God, that's what everyone says. I ask myself that sometimes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
It was like, it was one hell of an experience, honestly.
Would you go back?
Oh, Peru, I will go back. I will. That's, any time anyone asks, like, you know, I got fortunate enough, I did 20 countries in 6 months. And
you did?
Yeah. In that 6-month travel span.
Did you know you wanted to do that?
Hit that many?
Like you set out in this 6 months, I'm going to go to travel.
No, not really. Places? I kind of, like, I planned out the first part of my trip, like the first month and a half, like in South America. And then I kind of realized like a lot of people I was meeting traveling would just kind of book a one-way flight and then figure it out once they got down there.
Yeah.
And it sounds reckless and crazy, but that's like, if you're doing a long trip like that, that's how you should do it, because it gives you that flexibility where you don't have to worry about, you know, oh, I got to be at this place to make this flight, so I go here at this point in time. Because the thing is, when you're traveling alone, you're making friends, and there's a ton of things that, if that first month, for example, like when I was in Peru, I planned out pretty much everything, because it was my, you know, first time ever going alone. And there's so many things I could have done if I left it open-ended. Like I didn't even know about a thing called Rainbow Mountain down near Cusco. And it's this beautiful mountain that has so many different colors on it. It looks like a rainbow. Would have definitely loved to hike that. Got to go back and do it now. But I ended up doing the whole open-ended thing when I went to go stay with Sam, my brother, in Barcelona. I just booked a one-way flight out there while he was studying abroad and went with the flow, and everything worked. Like it was like, just found the cheapest flights. Kind of like I would show up at a city and make friends, and then they were like, oh, we're going over here. And I'm like, I'll come with. Like, and I ended up somehow, I hit 7 different, what do you call it? Like I don't want to say independence, like national holidays by coincidence, just because I was able to be so flexible and go with the flow for a couple months, and couldn't have worked out better, honestly. Like it was probably one of the cool, like that was my little unplanned travel section where it was just, everything was working.
Yeah.
Just because you could just,
you were just going with the flow.
Going with the flow. And like when you kind of let yourself be a little bit uncomfortable like that, I don't know, it kind of tends to fall in place, because you can just do what you want when you want to do it. It was kind of the most.
So you ended up going to places that you weren't even thinking about going, just because people were going there?
Yeah. Like I remember I saw a friend was studying abroad in Brussels. I hadn't seen in a few years. So I was like, oh, I'm in Paris, which is a 2-hour bus ride away. Like, want to hang out? Never been to Brussels before. And went there and visited her, and she was super nice. Let me stay with her for a few days. And then her friends were like, we're going to go to Amsterdam. It's 2 hours away. And they're having a King's Day, which is insane. Like the entire city, it's like 4th of July for Amsterdam. But they set up DJ booths and stages across the city. It's the only day you're allowed to drink in public. It's just everyone wears that bright orange that's super famous in Amsterdam, and just parties. And I was like, I didn't even know these girls the day before, and they're like, next thing I know, I'm on a bus with them, headed out to Amsterdam to have a good time. Yeah, so it was, that's the whole fun and joy of being able to go with the flow and having the time to do it.
That's crazy. Well, you got to experience a lot of different cultures
Oh
and
yeah.
a lot of different societies. Well, what are your views on that? Seeing so many other cultures and societies.
I guess what's cool, like especially in like poorer countries, you you know, they're way less fortunate than us. So you would expect a lot of people to be kind of down and out, like, damn, like how am I gonna, feed my kids? How am I gonna, they have real life problems. And what just always blows my mind is they just tend to be happier a lot of times, it seems like. They don't have the kind of the same obsession that most Americans do with like materialistic items and like it's like, in America it's like you get a big house, you want a bigger house. You become a millionaire, you want to be a billionaire. It's like there's never enough. But I think money can cause a lot of problems with a lot of people. And you see it down there. Like they have nothing, but they're always smiling. So it's like kind of shows you like what's important in life, or kind of that's how I felt about it. Like it was like, if these people who have nothing can be happy, why are the people that have everything unhappy? It's like it doesn't. And I think it just kind of shows you that money can really be an issue for some people. I think, God, having money's nice, but if you just keep wanting the next designer bag or another sports car, like you're chasing something, like it never ends, like it just, you can buy another more expensive bag and another more expensive car, and it was just like very interesting to see, because like, I'm like, what they say is like depression is a first world problem. So like there is more, the suicide rates are higher in countries that are better off than like countries in Africa. Like they don't tend to have those problems in those countries as much. So it's like kind of like a, remove yourself from that bubble that, this bubble we've all grown up in, where pretty much everyone is well off, and kind of put yourself in someone else's shoes. And
Well, it's kind of like a social pressure, right?
yeah, I think that's a huge,
I think what you're saying with the first world problems and things like that, there's a lot of social pressure, of others in the community, your friends, to do well. And whereas the people in the third world countries are just happy to be here,
yeah, exactly.
and to be having this experience.
Yeah.
It's just
kind of living in the moment type situation.
It's something so much more deep though, because I feel that they do push it in our society more, that you need to get the next newest car, you need to get, the newest iPhone, and on and on and on.
Never ending.
I don't feel maybe that's as much of the narrative in the third world countries.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, there's pros and cons to both, obviously, but I definitely do think happiness is the most important thing in life. So,
well, I was going to say it lies somewhere in the middle, right? Because obviously you need money to be able to do the things that you did in travel.
Exactly, yeah.
But you don't need all the money in the world and to be pulling your hair out,
Yeah. You definitely don't want to be scrapping for food.
Yeah, so I guess if everyone could just realize that it lies somewhere in the middle, because you don't want to be the guy who has the car, the watch, the house, all the money, and still not be happy, but you also don't want to be absolutely with nothing, so it just lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely. But yeah.
So you go and travel to all these different countries. You go to Amsterdam. Where do you go to next?
From Amsterdam, like directly after I flew to Germany, and we went to Oktoberfest.
Where in Germany?
Munich.
Okay.
So they do, you get the lederhosens, you got your steins, and met Sam and Louie and all those guys, and Jake Martell and all those guys out there for a couple pretty reckless days.
It's beautiful out there.
Oh man, it was beautiful. It was freezing cold. But,
Really?
Yeah, we were like indoors all the time, so that was pretty nice. But it was pretty wild, honestly.
That's
they,
fun.
they really, I miss that in this day and age, like just being out and about with a ton of people and live music and not worrying about COVID.
Yeah, I know.
That was a good time.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it was crazy. That was like the whole, go with the flow thing. Then I had I don't know if you remember my old next door neighbor, Tungi. He was from Germany.
Yeah, I think we met up with him.
Yeah, the guy
in
who used to
Germany.
play the piano on the beach all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys, you did meet up with him.
Yeah, I
when you
did,
were out there, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's a super crazy party over at Berlin, like May Day.
Because that's where we met up with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so okay, cool, we'll come there. Same thing as King's Day, just boom, whole city's partying. Like in Europe, they do it differently than we do it out here because they're allowed to drink in public. So it's the park all of a sudden becomes a dance floor. And
That's awesome.
that was probably one of the craziest week of my life. But it was the beauty of just being flexible and go with the flow. And everything in Europe is so damn close. You could just hop on a train or a bus.
Yeah, it's crazy because once we got over there, we were kind of just hopping around on a plane, to a bunch of different places, and it was all short flights compared to the 11, 12 hours that it took to get there. So
or the 5 hours to get across our country.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane how big America is. So where do you think you would, where's your next place you'd want to go to?
I mean, Peru obviously stands out to me.
we
It's
have
just
talked about that.
I'm not too informed on different destinations like Peru. I haven't spoken with anyone that's been to very many other places that have been like, you got to go here.
Yeah.
So Peru's definitely up there.
Yeah. No, I've been shoving that one down your throat for a
Yeah.
while.
I don't know if that's one that I'll do alone. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll get you alone solo traveling one day.
Yeah.
I've been telling you that for
Maybe a little
years now.
tester.
Yeah.
A little 5-6 days or something.
You'd be fine. You'd love it. I think you would.
Was that scary for you?
Oh yeah. I remember my parents dropping me off at the airport and I was so nervous. It's like, am I going to have any friends? Am I going to spend the next month by myself? And pretty much right away, all of that was gone. It was when I realized that everyone else, South America is definitely a really big solo travel spot. Like people go there, they do the 5-month thing. And
The 5-month thing.
well, most people in America, they go on a 2-week vacation once a year.
Yeah.
It's not really a very common thing to go travel for several months. But, in other countries, it is like Europe and stuff, it is a little more common for people to kind of take a little sabbatical.
Well, maybe it's because they're not as wrapped up in, the rat race
Yeah, we definitely.
in society. I can't leave. I got to work.
Yeah, no, we definitely have a lot of that here.
Because that could change your life.
Yeah.
Going to Peru and all these places, that could change the way you look at life. Just like from what you're telling me about the people who don't have as much and are less fortunate, but they're all very happy.
Yeah.
Then we look at some of the people in our society that we know have a lot of things, a lot of material things, a lot of success, and they're not happy.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what's the point of getting all that stuff if you're not going to be happy?
Yeah.
And the reality is that you can be happy wherever you're at.
In both situations, yeah, but you gotta. I think it's definitely just knowing what you want and what makes you happy. Because some people love to work. They love it, and honestly, right now I'm in a job where I am loving working. It took me a long time to find that spot, but now I can kind of understand. Whereas at first I was like, I just want to get away. I want to go see the world. And now I've bummed it around enough to the point where I'm like, okay, I've done that. As that's kind of past me, I'm ready to kind of focus on the future.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So did you have an idea of what you wanted to do, or did your parents influence you to go travel, or how did that come about?
Yeah, like, so, my dad, back when he was, 25 years ago, whatever, when he was our age, post college, he went and backpacked for a year after college. And he's always kind of gave me ideas like, you should do it, you should do it. And I was kind of unsure. I was obviously dating someone at the time, and I was like, I don't know if I want to leave them for that long. And my dad kind of just sat me down one day, and he was like, you don't have to do this. Like, by no means am I saying this is something you need to do. But as life goes on, you just have more responsibilities naturally. Like, you progress in your career, there's family, there's kids, and you can't do it. So if you're going to do it, you should go now. And this is the time to do it. And I kind of just thought to myself, like, damn, sounds a little scary, like going by myself, but I can't imagine like missing out on an opportunity like that. And he was so passionate about his experience and me going that I was like, it seems like I'm throwing away something that could, like you said, change like the rest of the outcome of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it could change your whole perspective of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you feel that that's what it did for you?
Yeah. You see all the people on Instagram, like, traveling changed me. And I don't want to be one of those kind of basic kind of girls that says that, but like, it really does kind of puts things in perspective and makes you realize what is important to you. What are you looking for in life? Like, where, because, if you want to be the guy that works a few months and travels over the next 10 years, he kind of finds odd jobs where he goes, or is this like a one-time experience? Because there's definitely some people who get wrapped up in it for, I don't know, I don't want to say too long, but I could only live in hostels for so long or live in a van for so long. And I'm very, very happy I did it. But I also do like my own bed at the end of the night. Like,
well, that's good.
My own bed, my own space.
Yeah.
Crazy concept.
Yeah, because if you really did enjoy living in the hostels and in a van, then you'd be super hippie, huh?
Oh, it's a little too hippy-dippy for me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it looks like you got a lot from traveling.
Yeah.
And you kind of looked at it as like a segment of life.
Yeah.
Rather than like a lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was like, I was 20-something years old, 23 or something. And I know life just goes on, it gets busier, and I just wanted to see some spots and kind of, as you get older, you want to stay at those nicer places. Like, you've been working so hard for so long. You want to stay at somewhere a little nicer. You want to, at a nicer hotel, you want to like go to nicer restaurants versus like when you're, spending $10 at a night at a hostel that comes with free breakfast. You're living it's a very different way of traveling. And I'm really happy I did it. You're definitely counting pennies at the end of the day, but you get those experiences that you don't get from staying at a resort. You meet those people. You kind of see the country for what it really is versus, that glamorized resort that's picture perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also you're experiencing it, I guess, while you're able to tolerate it. Because maybe if you were to go there
exactly
in your later 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you wouldn't want to go even experience that.
I don't think I'd want to share. If I'm married, do I go to a hostel and share a room with 15, 30 people? Like, I have like a party hostel too, where you can't sleep until 2 a.m. No, like, I'm probably not going to want to do that. I hope I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I definitely did enjoy it when I was doing it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. Well, do you want to pass that on to maybe your children in the future?
Oh, I recommend everyone does it, honestly. You could really, if you save up, in these other countries like Peru, if you're in Southeast Asia, you can, like, hell, you spend $1,000 on rent a month here. $10 a night at a hostel is $300 a month, and that comes with free breakfast. So you got 3 months rent in 1 month, or well, a little more than 3 months.
So I guess 3 months then in different areas, because they were all
money just stretches, a lot farther down there, and it's a lot of people ask me like, how do you do it? And I'm not staying at those resorts. I'm buying the cheapest hotel, not really eating out. Well, you can when you're in. I got a 4-course meal in Peru for $2.50.
$2.
$2.50. We got our soup. We got our salad. We got our I don't even know. I don't have 4-course meals normally, so I don't even
crazy.
know. There's another meal. There's the dessert. There's the entree. It's pretty wild. Like if you,
Wow.
Well, you've been to Mexico, it's. The dollar's pretty strong.
Yeah, especially when you go to those places in Thailand and other places. 'Cause did you go to Thailand?
Yeah, we did Thailand. Yeah.
So you hit Peru, then you went over to Amsterdam, in that area, and then you went to Thailand in the same trip?
Yep. So it was South America to Europe for a bit, and then a little Southeast Asia for a bit as well.
Is that where Thailand is?
Yeah. Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia.
You went to all those places?
Yep. Cambodia, Laos.
What were those like?
I love that part of the world, man. South America is definitely a little sketchier, but they're very peaceful out there. It's just kind of it's more hippy dippy down there or out there.
In Peru?
No, in Asia. Like they have a lot of Buddhist culture, and those people are very peaceful. It's very much like don't steal, no violence. Like they've got a good thing going.
And that's all the places, Indonesia, Thailand.
Yep. Yeah, they have. Indonesia has a little more of like a Muslim background than the rest of them, but they're the same way. They really, just the way they treat everyone. They're so kind, so nice, and they're just always smiling, man.
Are there things like Machu Picchu, like monuments, I guess, in Indonesia, Thailand, and stuff?
Yeah. It's like Machu Picchu for me, I think is one of the coolest things in the world. But there is tons of beautiful Buddhist temples. Like we went to. It's like everything is plated in gold. It's like I've never seen.
Wow.
Anything like it. You go up staircases with dragons going up them, and the temples out there are just beyond phenomenal. It's really
that's cool. Crazy because they're I guess you don't identify the hierarchy of culture out there. Like you don't see like, oh, this guy's balling or that. Like you see more so just the people and the culture. You don't see as much of I guess their society structure. Yeah. You don't really see a BMW out there. Yeah.
It's not like our little Carmel Valley bubble where that's probably the most common car on the road.
Yeah. Well, I feel like even if you go to places, Florida or these other places like Texas, you can see a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something like that, Yeah. You don't see that stuff necessarily in these other areas.
No, a lot of dirt roads.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of dirt roads.
And you're staying at hostels out there too?
No, well, that was when I was traveling with your sister, and she's not really the hostel type, but you could still get like a boutique hotel for like $10, $15 a night. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to have.
I've heard Thailand's really cool.
Oh man, loved it. We did a month out there actually. It was
a whole month.
That's
a long time.
It was a long time. Yeah. There's just so many gorgeous islands. That was where became open water certified. Nikki learned how to scuba dive, and we saw the whale shark. It's the cheapest place in the world to get certified to scuba dive, and it has some of the most amazing diving out in the world too. Just so warm, no wetsuit. The visibility was phenomenal, so you can see like a football field away.
Wow!
And it was just scuba diving. Whew, that was the best. And there's a shipwreck out there. It was.
How deep did you guys go?
Well, I went deeper because she got, I'm advanced and she was just regular open water. So I went like 100 feet deep.
You went 100 feet?
Yeah, 100 feet.
And that's 100 feet to the floor or 100 feet to...
Wherever you are.
Wow.
It gets deeper. By that point, it's pretty hard to see the surface because you're just so deep.
Dang.
It's just blue.
And
everywhere.
and you got to see the shipwreck?
I got to see the shipwreck, yeah. That's another advanced thing too, though.
Wow.
Yeah, to do wreck diving.
To go through it?
You can kind of, you're not supposed to go through it, but you can kind of like
But you're with a
peer
guide?
in there. Yeah, you go with the dive master.
Yeah.
And take you around. It was an old American warship. So there was a massive machine gun turret on the front of it. And it was just
That's awesome.
It was pretty badass.
Dang.
Yeah. I love scuba diving.
That's trippy, man.
Yeah.
That'll freak you out.
Yeah.
Just thinking of being that deep underwater
Yeah.
and you're breathing through a tank.
I love it, man. I love it. I think it's one of the best things you could pair with traveling. You can go to a lazy beach island with nothing to do, crystal clear water, and then you go down underneath the surface and you're just exploring a whole other world. It's like this exciting adventure rush. And then you come back up and you just lay on the lazy beach island. Really adds a whole other element to everything, I think.
That's crazy. That kind of sounds more daredevil-ish. Sounds like you like that.
You know me. You've known me for long enough now. Honestly, it's the thought of it is so much scarier than the act of it is the best way I would say. Like, it's like I get a little intimidated. Like I remember when I was in the Galapagos, where like the big thing there is seeing schools of hammerheads. And I'm freaking out when I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to see these 10-foot sharks. Like,
they're telling you this before you guys go in?
Yeah, that's the famous thing there. Like you can see up to 50, 100 massive schools of hammerhead sharks, and they're pretty friendly.
But you're freaked out.
I'm freaked out. Like it's a shark. Like, who knows what can happen.
And those are pretty dangerous. I think they're one of the more aggressive ones.
Yeah. I don't know. They kind of got. Well, we ended up seeing them, and once they see you, they just dip out. Yeah, I got a video of it.
Really?
And everything. Yeah, there was like I think 15 of them just kind of swimming around.
And the head is like.
Yeah, that weird. Doesn't look.
Is it not that big?
Oh, I don't even. Probably like that big. Yeah. I guess actually. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, they're like 9-10 feet.
And where's the Galapagos?
It's off the coast of Ecuador. So yeah, from Peru, I took a bus up there and then a plane flight out to the Galapagos.
Dang.
That was, you've heard of the Galapagos, right?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So that's like where they kind of, what's his name? I don't even remember. But that's like, the whole finches and like discovering that humans evolved.
Finches?
The birds. So they have, so finches, I think it's called finch. There are all these birds, and this guy, Darwin, I want to say, he's realizing all these different types. They're the same, I guess, breed of bird, but they all have different beaks. And he discovered that the reason they all have different beaks was because they mutated to break different like plants down to eat them. Mm-hmm. Like that beak served a purpose, and that's like that's how we discovered we evolved from apes. Like he was the guy that like realized that it was just a bunch of different mutations to fit like a certain need. Like you're whatever, like you're a certain type of like you needed to be smarter, so our brains developed so we could survive for build tools and hunt animals and learn how to farm. But he also it's all started with the finches. It was just realizing that they all mutated so they could eat different types of seeds and nuts, and that was the reason their beak was that shape.
Wow.
So it's the most protected place in the world.
What do you mean when you say protected?
I think only 4% of the islands are inhabited. because it's such a unique place in the sense that like there are so many different types of animals that are only from there because they didn't have all these crazy predators. So they evolved in these really unique ways and ended up like being like they would have probably died off anywhere else because a predator would have killed them. But because there wasn't predators and there was like they evolved differently, and there's all these weird trippy animals that just don't exist anywhere else in the world. So they've protected it to a point where, you know, most of the islands don't even have people on them.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. You
got to go over there?
Yeah, I went over there. That's like where they have those massive tortoises just walking around, like the ones up to here. And they just have all these crazy birds that just do the most bizarre, like it's one that just blows its neck up like this. Like it just doesn't make sense. They have marine iguanas, they have penguins, they have all these crazy different types of animals that you don't really find in many other places.
Where is that?
Galapagos.
Can you stay there on that island?
Yeah, you can stay. There's tons of different islands. But like Santa Cruz is where I stayed. Isabella is another huge one. But you can also just do like day trips to like go visit it and see those animals like in their natural habitat. And it's like, yeah, big animal guy. So
have you been, where else have you seen animals like that?
My family did a safari a long time ago, which was pretty exciting to like go out there and see a leopard attempt to hunt. And we got to see, I don't know if you know, like the wildebeest. Every year they cross the Nile River, and they do it in like tens of thousands. One person decides to go, and they go, and they gotta go at the same time because there's all these 10-foot Nile crocodiles just waiting to eat them. And we got to see that. It's like a thing it's part of their migration pattern they do every year.
So they know that they have to sacrifice some of them?
Yeah, some of them get murked. Like when we were waiting, actually it was crazy. We're waiting.
And this is in Africa?
This is in Africa. Yeah, this was in Kenya. And we're just waiting, and there's, God, it must have thousands and thousands of wildebeest. They're all just kind of waiting for someone no one wants to lead the charge. And they lead the charge and they start going. And then next thing you know, out of nowhere, this jaguar just runs in, and then they all freak out and just dip. And there's just, I just remember seeing like a big circle of wildebeest, and the jaguar is just in the middle looking around. Dust is flying everywhere, and they all just run back away from the river. And there's just this baby that's just running in circles right next to the river because his mom's already crossed. He's crying, he's freaking out. So it's like, oh my God, we're going to see this jaguar just murk this thing right now. He's just drawing attention to himself. Luckily, he ran to the herd and then led the charge. And somehow he didn't get killed by the crocodiles or the jaguar. It was like one of the coolest things to see ever.
They can't kill the jaguar?
They could trample it probably, but it's definitely, that's what the jaguar eats.
Wow.
Yeah. It was freaking cool.
That's gnarly.
We're like, no, the baby's gonna die, like in front of us. And then we're like, oh my God, it's crossing first. All the crocodiles like snapping at it, and somehow this thing had a gift from God, I guess, an angel, just like didn't want it to die that day.
Wow.
So it led the charge, and then like thousands of them just follow behind. It was quite a sight to see.
Have you been to Tulum?
Nope, never been to Tulum. That's pretty high up on the list, though. It's heard that's where everyone's going in quarantine. I've never seen. I always heard about Tulum and all the cenotes down there, and then I think you're pretty close to the pyramids as well, or the Mayan pyramids.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of cool stuff to see. I've heard it is real touristy, but that just basically means it's really nice.
Yeah. Are you not looking for that?
I don't know. I really do want to go down there, but I definitely do miss that when it's really touristy, it's more westernized. You don't get that culture shock, and I love that culture shock, and it's cheaper if you go somewhere that's less touristy. But I love that, like, just feeling like I'm in a whole other world when I'm traveling.
That's heavy though, especially for our society. For people in our society, that's real heavy to go to a place and experience the raw place itself.
Yeah.
Because we're so in this technological world where if we get out of that, it's heavy. Like you said, it's a culture shock. It's a lot to handle.
Yeah, no, it is at first too. But that's like one of the major reasons.
I think it's super important.
I think it's good to see how people live. You got to realize that not everyone lives like this. We're really, really fortunate, and we have so much to appreciate. Like the fact that we have a minimum wage. We have, being born in California is probably one of the luckiest things that could ever happen to you, honestly. You're being born into a city, like especially San Diego, like you're being born around people who are really successful, and you're around a lot of really smart people. You have running water. You have the ability to go buy food. We have a lot, and it's definitely good to kind of give yourself that reality check to how fortunate you are sometimes.
It's funny because if you were to tell someone to go to Peru or go somewhere else and experience that and take them out of this game, it'd be hard for them to get out of it because they're so wrapped up in it. Mm-hmm. So you take them out of it and they're like, whoa, like, I can't believe that's what I've been doing and what I've known as normal for so long. Like, because I think that's something that, I mean, just hearing it from you, it's like, I didn't consider, if we had running water or if we could go to a grocery store, like for Americans, that's a normal thing.
Yeah, you realize how much you take for granted at times. It's pretty wild. You have electricity. You have a refrigerator. It's pretty crazy how many people don't have these things, and it's pretty important to be thankful for all the little things.
Well, and see, just like you said, like it changes your whole mindset. It changes your whole perspective. And one thing that I know is that your perspective creates your life. Mm-hmm. It's all, life is all how you look at things.
100%. I couldn't agree with that more. It's really easy to get down in the dumps, kind of beat yourself up over one thing, but you can take a step back and look like the little things. Like, hell, I have running water. I've got great friends. Well, we've got everything pretty much, but we really do have so much to be fortunate. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the entire face of this planet, in my opinion. Perfect weather year round. Just you can't really beat what we got.
Yeah, I heard once, if you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at will change. So it just comes down to your perspective on every situation. If I walk outside and I see someone give me a bad look, well, okay, I wish them well. Maybe they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
Or I could look at it as like, wow, I'm attracting a lot of negativity. People don't like me. It's like, well, which do you want to look at it as?
Exactly, yeah. If you want to, it's like that the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This guy was, he was on the subway, I want to say, and he sees a dude whose head and his shoulders really stressed out, and his kids are just running around the place screaming, just kind of causing a commotion. He's like, finally, kind of worked up the courage to be like, hey man, can you get them to calm down? And the guy replies with, oh, sorry, I guess I probably should. Their mother died today, so it's kind of just a lot right now. Kind of taking yourself out and realizing, oh man, these kids are being crazy, instead of just wonder what he's going through, like, and kind of putting putting yourself in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
And I think it's really powerful. Your perspective definitely changes, how you look at life and what's important to you. And then,
because what I've always known is that things could always be worse, right? Yep. Obviously you can always look at it. Things could always be better, right? I could have X amount of money. I could have, this person with me or whatever it is. But you have to look at that in the same way, in the opposite spectrum. You could not be here in an office with water, electricity, things like that.
Yeah.
Because
what is there, like 2 million? There's like millions of homeless children, like, in the world. And
well, it's wild to think that we were born in California, but we could have been born.
Could have been born anywhere.
Anywhere.
It could have been born,
not even in the United States.
It could have been born into a slum. Look at India. They have like outcasts in their society, and it's like they have a caste system, and it's basically a caste system. And if you're at the bottom of the totem pole, they call you the untouchables, basically. And it's really, really hard to get out of that. Like, you're kind of born into it. Your parents are poor, you're poor. And it's really a kind of messed up system that they have going on, because it kind of keeps you at the bottom and keeps you at the top. Like, you don't want, if you're in the untouchables, like, they don't even want to.
The untouchables are at the top?
Oh, they're at the bottom.
They're at the bottom.
You don't want anything to do with the untouchables. It's pretty wild.
That's gnarly.
Born in communist China.
Yeah.
Born in.
Because you could be born in America and you have the same opportunities as everyone else. If you're in poverty right now, it doesn't mean that you can be
out of it,
a star or big time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in other countries it's not as prevalent.
Yeah. Well, if you look at a communist country, like, kind of, there's no really room for growth in that.
Is that what traveling really did for you? Is put into perspective your life?
Yeah, like what I thought was important and what I wanted. I've always been a little bit of a hippie to an extent. For a second there, I was like, this is what I want to do forever. And kind of realized, no, this is not what I want. I really do want to have kids. I wanted to have a family. I want to be married, so I want to be able to, like, provide for them as well. And yeah, definitely living in a van in New Zealand is not going to cut it if I want to do all that stuff. And
well, where did that fall into the trip? That was separate?
That was a separate trip. Yeah. I flew out there the day before, March 16th, the day before. I had one final stint left in me. I kind of left my last 6-month thing really with the travel bug still. Like, I really wanted to keep doing it. It was like a disease. Honestly, like, I really wanted to do it one more time.
It's kind of like a high,
Yeah, it is. It's fun. Oh man, it's fun. But yeah, it's just kind of felt like I still wanted to do it. There was a couple things that I kind of cut my trip a little bit early because I had some medical things I had to come back for. And went back and was with Brooks and Josh. We went out the day before COVID kind of hit, I guess, the world. We were supposed to be out there for a month, or I was supposed to be out there for a month. Got locked down at Brooks's girlfriend's house for 7 weeks. They had the strictest lockdown in the entire world.
In New Zealand?
If you lived in Del Mar, you weren't up there. You weren't allowed to leave Del Mar. You were not
in California?
No, I'm saying like in New Zealand. I'm giving you like an example. Like I was in a town of 2,000 people.
Wow.
In the middle of New Zealand.
Right when this thing broke.
And I, was supposed to be there for a month. Ended up, they shut borders down. There was no flights. I ended up stuck there for about 4 months. But in the first month of it was the most strict lockdown ever. Like we weren't allowed to leave our little farm town of 2,000. There was no pickup, no takeout, no restaurants were open at all. I've never cooked so much in my life. I actually learned how to cook. It was really, really great, honestly.
And you guys had access to a grocery store?
Yeah, we had access to a grocery store. We bought a van out there so we could drive to the store. We could have walked, honestly. It was literally the town was maybe a mile long. It was next to nothing. So yeah, we were able to cook, and we were so fortunate that Brooks's girlfriend at the time let us stay at her house, because otherwise our plan was to do a van trip for a month. We bought this van, and it would have been absolute hell to have 3 dudes in a van parked in a parking lot and not have a bathroom for 7 weeks. It would have been a tricky situation. So she really saved us on that one. And then it ended up becoming the coolest trip I've ever been on. That was.
So did they loosen up the lockdowns? Then you guys decided to go out on the van?
Yep, they loosened up the lockdowns. The whole country was still shut down to the rest of the world. So we were fortunate enough to be able to travel around a country with no tourists. So you're going to some of the most famous spots in the entire country, and you're the only one there.
Wow.
You're surfing breaks that you've read about your entire life. No one else is out. It was just like us 3 kind of just trekking around the country, and obviously 3 dudes, 1 van, it's kind of ridiculous. 2 dudes in a van and 1 person camping. And we were supposed to do it in the fall because it gets pretty cold down there, but then we had a 7-week lockdown. So we pretty much did it in the winter time. So it dropped down to 32 at night a lot, and it get pretty chilly, but.
Would you guys leave the car running?
No way.
To keep the heater on?
No, you just layer up, man.
Wow.
But I got pretty used to that. You get used to the cold after a bit. Definitely. And it made so much more possible too, man. If we didn't live in a van, New Zealand's not the cheapest country out there.
Really?
Yeah, so it would have been pretty damn expensive. We ended up selling the van for how much we bought it for, so we had a free place to stay for 4 months.
Dude, what did that do for you to live in a van?
Kind of dude, we definitely all broke down one day. It's I'll never forget that day.
What happened?
It was just it was so cold that our cooktop wasn't working because it was too cold to get it to work, so we couldn't eat. I was basically living off nuts and raisins for a week, and I was just so weak, and I'm trying to cook my food. It's taking 45 minutes because it's too cold to heat it up. What were you making? I was just trying to make eggs, scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get the pan hot enough. And I'm just so weak, because I really have just not been treating myself. Because our cooker just because the further south we went, the colder it got. And our cooker kind of just didn't work for 3 weeks. So it was kind of just nuts and raisins, honestly. Wow. But I don't know, I guess it kind of makes you realize, again, all the stuff you take for granted. I spent 3 weeks at one spot when we were living in the van, and the bathroom that I had to use was this old turret thing where basically you shut the door and it's pitch black. There's no electricity in there. So you bring your phone and your flashlight in, kind of sitting there at the pitch black, trying to, use the bathroom and yeah, just little things being warm at
You
night.
didn't want to leave?
Oh, I left. I came home. I
but
loved it.
After how long?
4 months. I couldn't leave for a long time though. There was no flights home. So it was the only way there was really no other option. But
sounds like you guys are stranded.
We were stranded, but wouldn't trade it for anything else. I was the best place in the world to be stranded. The whole country ended up opening back up. There's no cases of COVID. I went out to nightclubs. I went to rugby games. Life was completely normal.
Why didn't you guys stay at a hotel then?
It's too expensive. I didn't save up enough money for that.
But it was also locked down too.
Yeah, it was locked down for the first 7 weeks of the trip, and then the rest of it kind of slowly phased out. And then the end of it, like that was like around June of last year. It's just normal. And it has been ever since. Like Josh is still out there. He's going to music festivals. Like they have no restrictions. They have no COVID either. So
wow.
they're really fortunate because they're just a small island in the middle of nowhere, and it makes it a lot easier to control. Like they shut down the whole country when there's 120 cases. So, America had already shut down at that point as well. So I feel like they had a little extra, they got to see the rest of the world crash and burn. And because they're the small little island in the middle of nowhere, it made it easier for them to be like, all right, we're going to take this really seriously. And then it's actually going to work because we only have 120 cases. We can actually beat this thing. And they beat it, man. I think they've only had like 20 something deaths. Whereas you look at us, like 500,000.
Do you put a lot of thought into it when someone comes to you and asks you if you want to go on this trip? Or do you usually just say yes and then...
Well, I definitely put a lot of thought into it. Like now, I'm not going to do it anymore. I will travel, don't get me wrong. Like I'll go on a 1 week trip. But I feel like I finally got rid of that travel bug. After that trip, man, living in a van with 2 other dudes and 6 surfboards. That's
so heavy.
It broke me down, man.
It's like some man versus wild shit.
Yeah, we were basically just living like savages. I probably showered once a week because we just didn't have enough money to go to these nicer places. We would shower outside, like at the beach. It's like glacier runoff, so it's like freezing cold, and it's also 45 degrees. So you're just standing there. It's the first.
How'd you guys get water?
Van life is very big out there. It's like you'll be driving through a small town in the middle of nowhere. They'll have a street sign for like a bathroom, and there's all these water stations that you can just fill. We had a tank like in our van, like a 5-gallon thing or something. So we just fill that up and yeah, it was like the van life, they make it very easy for you out there. If there's a place to do the van, I would do the van. Like if anyone asks like how to travel New Zealand, it's 100% the van. Driving around that country, it is the most beautiful country in the world. You'll be driving next to a volcano, looking at rolling green hills with palm trees on them and the ocean in the background. And then there's it's just like 5 landscapes in one. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's like a rainforest over there. It's at a glacier over there. Like all in one span. Like it's crazy. It's really, really cool.
Wow. Yeah. That's very different than America, right? With building houses, communities, all in the same place. It's just... you don't see as much of the nature side.
Yeah, and the nature out there is there's just national park after national park after national park. It's so well protected, and it's like you'll drive. America's very big. Drive 2 hours, it's going to be a pretty similar landscape. Drive 2 hours in New Zealand, you're in another world.
Wow,
you're in a whole other part of the country, and it's crazy how dramatic it changes and how quickly it changes and how untouched it is too. Like there's only 4.9 million people that live in that entire country. It's a pretty big country as well versus that's like the population of LA. I think LA's bigger.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's just yeah,
sounds like that's the place to go and get away.
If you're into nature, it's a dream.
Where have you been anywhere in America that would resemble something like that?
That's what's so cool about it, man. It's not like anywhere else I've ever been to. it's a hiker's dream. It's because what's so cool is how you see so many different landscapes in such a condensed area. And there's just so much to see as well. America's beautiful. I love America. Don't get me wrong. The national parks here are crazy.
Well, that one in Vegas, right? Is it Zion?
That's not Vegas. That's in Utah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not too far from Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't think. But yeah,
It's got like the red rocks.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's melting. You feel like you're on Mars. It's the coolest thing. And there'll be snow on it in the wintertime. That was where I brought Bronson out to see snow for the first time.
And you could snowboard and ski there?
In Utah, not in Zion. You could go
You'd have to drive a little further?
I'd drive a little further, yeah. I went up to Salt Lake City. Yeah, it's pretty... Utah's like a whole nother world. And
wow.
But everything in America is just so big. Like, to drive to Zion, it's 8 hours. You drive 8 hours and you... Yeah.
Well, it's only 5 hours to Vegas. And then it's 3 hours from Vegas to Zion.
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Just did that drive. Drove all the way out to Colorado. That was a long one.
Dang.
Yeah, we stopped in Zion, did Bryce Canyon, and then almost killed ourselves driving in the middle of the night to Colorado.
Why?
There was just deer that just kept jumping in front of the road. All the roads were like frozen over.
Did you have to put chains on?
No. My car's got 4-wheel drive. You know, the 4Runner.
Yeah.
No, you don't really need. If you need chains in a 4Runner, don't drive.
Yeah.
It's probably too dangerous.
That's crazy, man. That ice is scary.
Oh yeah, I almost died. I was on the way back. I was driving a buddy's car, this is like a few weeks ago, and dude, it was so scary. We're just going 40 miles an hour, and I try to brake, and it's like an ice rink on this road. We literally go sideways. I look over at everyone else. They look so scared.
In the car?
They're holding on for dear life. And then you try to correct yourself, and then you just start spitting the other way. And then other cars are coming at you. It was... Driving in Colorado is different. It's hilarious because people in San Diego make their kids not go to school when it's raining. Out there, they've got blizzards. They've got frozen roads. Like it's
life goes on. I think California is definitely has to be the most what's the word? Preppy or
we're kind of little bitches. We're very spoiled out here. Weather does not exist.
Yeah.
Well, Southern California.
Yeah, I mean 70 and sunny
70
year round.
and sunny, rains. What's the last time it
rains like 7 days out of the year?
Yeah.
Something like
if
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, it sounds to me like you got to get out more, or I do.
You
Not
should.
you.
I need to stay in a little more.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, I definitely managed to get it all out of my system, thankfully. Living in a van will break it down like that.
Well, I'm sure you have many more trips to go on in your life.
Yeah, let's hope so, man. We'll see. We'll see where to next. Hopefully the world opens up at some point and we can start exploring a little bit again.
You ever thought about driving into Mexico?
Like really far into it? I've
just down the coast of Mexico, down Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, I'd love to do that. That'd be great. I've driven down to like Ensenada, Rosarito. I love Mexico, man.
You're not scared to drive though, because I've heard
I'm
a lot of
a little freaked out. Not gonna lie. But I always say, like, you hear sketchy stories, but a lot of people put themselves in sketchy situations. Like, don't drive at night. Don't go talk to the guy selling drugs in the alleyway.
For sure.
Be smart, be safe. And I think if you do that, like you can't, shit does happen. But I was traveling for quite a long time by myself, and I did have like one pretty scary occasion. But apart from that, like
what happened?
I wouldn't say we're being stupid, but like we were out late, and me and my buddy that I'd met in Ecuador, which is a little bit, South America is a little more dangerous, and you're not supposed to walk around with your phone out at night. We got dropped off and right in front of our hostel. He had his phone out, and these guys approached us and started pushing us, and I thought they were trying to fight or something. I didn't really know what was going on, but then realized he had his phone out. I like pushed this dude away, who's like up to here on me, which is pretty small because I'm not big by any means. And he just comes at me with a knife and just slashed it right in front of my face. I was like, "Oh shit, they got a knife!" And then my friend just like tossed him their phone and they ran off.
Tossed him his phone?
Yeah, because he had it out.
Why? What's the deal with the phones?
Well, that's, a phone to them is like 3 months' salary or a year's worth of amount of money they could make. So It's pretty dramatic, that could really change.
Yeah,
that could change the course of their life if they have that kind of money, because they just, they don't get paid like we do out here. So, yeah, you just gotta, follow the rules. Don't be stupid. Shit does happen.
That's scary, man. That could have gone south.
That one really freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie. That one, I was a little spooked.
Dang.
But
did you get mad at your buddy?
Nah.
See, that's
no one was hurt. Like,
yeah,
I probably shouldn't have pushed the guy. Maybe, you kind of want to just comply. It was also like 3 in the morning, so there's a couple things we were doing wrong.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to escalate the situation.
Yeah, I'm not going to get stabbed over a phone. Like, take my phone. I don't care.
Yeah.
Wow. This means nothing. He didn't care at all. He was actually a doctor. So he's really well off. And he just like, only thing he cared about was like, he lost all his pictures from the trip.
Yeah. Dang, that's a bummer.
Yeah. Apart from that, man, like, I really do think as long as you play it safe, should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you can go get yourself in trouble in downtown San Diego late at night.
Walk around in some of those areas without a phone, with your phone out. I bet there's so many homeless people down there that someone will pick up on an opportunity late at night.
Some crazy.
Who knows what to do with that whole situation? But it's getting real bad, especially during the pandemic. I feel like it's almost gotten worse. Living in PB, you gotta see all of them.
That's for sure. Well, thank you for doing this, Ben.
Yeah, thanks
and
for
let's
having
do it
me
again
on,
soon.
man. Yeah, 100%,
that was great.
man. It's been a hot minute.
Thank you, man.
I had a lot of fun.
All right, guys.
Later.